virtual reality, technology, special education, it can be overwhelming. There's so many opportunities. And we here in special education, parents, teachers, admins, therapists need to jump on new technology that's out there because it can make such a difference for all of our learners. Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and I have a special guest that you are going to love hearing from. He's going to help us understand virtual reality, technology, what's happening, what's possible. So Vijay, just thank you for being here so much. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Florio, just kind of so people can have a perspective of where you're coming from.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Catherine. I am by background a software engineer, an early engineer at Amazon. I moved in the technology circles and started Florio from a personal space. My son's on the autism spectrum, and when he was 6 years old, he saw me trying out virtual reality technology, wanted to spend some time in it, and an amazing thing happened where after spending 30 minutes in VR, he started showing some really neat new capabilities around pretend play that sparked this idea: could virtual reality be a next generation medium for neurodiverse kids to learn new skills?
Yeah, I love that. And you summed that up so beautifully. That's exactly why I wanted to bring you here and introduce you to our listeners, because you're hands-on in your family. You have created something which I love. I love when you create something to solve just a challenge that is happening. So tell me a bit, like when you tell somebody about Florio and they're kind of like, I don't know, what are some of the misconceptions, some things that you love to share with families and with teachers?
Absolutely. Virtual reality is a technology that many people have never used, or if they have used it or seen others use it, they've seen it in the context of games and shoot 'em up games, things that we don't think of as an educational support necessarily. And the biggest thing I try to convey is that virtual reality for neurodiverse learners is a very special place, because one of the things I learned as a parent is that my child can do many of the things that might seem difficult at first if he has enough time to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And in virtual reality, we're able to create an immersive environment that can simulate the real world and create a repeatable practice environment without the negative consequences of getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And so as a starting point, I often, when talking to families, will give them the scenario that can really hit home: crossing the street safely.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really replicate that in the school or in a therapist office or in the home. We can try it in the real world, but if you get it wrong, it could be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And in virtual reality, we can have cars moving, we can have a walk sign, we can have the sounds that are made by that walk sign as it's waiting, we have the traffic lights. We can create so many of the key elements of that real world experience and practice and gain the confidence that our child can execute that skill in the real world. And so that's one example of literally thousands and tens of thousands of life and social situations that will be facing our kids that in virtual reality, we can create that repeatable practice environment for.
Yeah. So we have this thing in special education that happens a lot where we see IEP goals that are written to 80%, like just across the board, everything is 80%. And it's like, we can't learn how to cross the street with 80% success. Like, that's not a good thing. Some goals need 100% success. So I love that you brought that one up. I know one of the things that happens when I bring up virtual reality to, parents and teachers, it feels very inaccessible. It feels like it is going to be something big and expensive and complicated. All right. So just dispel all those myths for us and tell us how you made this setup, because I know that I've had an experience playing around with it and I'm like, this is so easy.
Yeah. This is one of the first questions I had when I was starting the company in 2016. This technology seems to work, but how can I get it into hands? I don't want to build something that's only be used by a few or only the affluent. It needs to be something that's accessible to everyone. And so, we're fortunate in that two things have happened. First is that early on, there was a capability where smartphones can be used to create simplified virtual reality environments. And so the way that works is that your smartphone, and we work with iPhone 7s or above, is able to go, the display is able to go into a stereoscopic view, and which is a left eye, right eye view on the screen. And then that can be placed in a plastic goggle where lenses can then create the 3D effects. The sensors in the phone are used to create the sensors necessary so that in the virtual reality environment, the display updates as you move your head, so you get the sense that you're somewhere else. And that is available. Those goggles cost about $20, and most people have smartphones that are compatible, and that's what got us off the ground. Is that we were able to build something that works with your smartphone. You just need plastic goggles that are very inexpensive, and you're off and running. Now, since then, there have been massive investments by big tech in virtual reality hardware, and the price has come down quite a bit. So the Meta Quest 2 headset, which Florio also supports, is now under $400. There's rumors in the next release that there's going to be a $200 budget version of that headset coming out. So the cost is coming down. And we do often find that families, and especially professional therapists, don't want to use their personal hardware for delivering therapy or being used in a setting. We are excited about where the technology curve is going. Apple is about to enter the market next year with their Vision Pro. It's going to start at a very high price point, but like everything else we've encountered in society over the last 30 years, it's only going to get less expensive if there's continued investment in trying to get this to the masses. And so we feel like we're riding a technology curve that's coming, and that it's already there in many ways because the Florio solution can just use your smartphone and a $20 goggle.
Yeah, so it's funny, like you're saying, like, so the tech rumors are, and I almost want to be like, can we talk some more tech rumors? I am like a sucker for those, news articles that are like tech rumors says, and I love to always know what's up and coming. But I do want to get to this conversation. I do know that Florio is being used in some schools, in some environments where you have some success stories. You have seen that it's not just about you and your family. It's not just about an idea. It's not just that it's accessible, but you're seeing actual success stories. Can you share a bit of that with us?
Absolutely. Florio has, from the beginning, worked with school partners along with healthcare provider partners to develop the product. Neurodiversity and autism are, special in that they're served by both the education and healthcare community. So we've worked with both worlds to build a product that can work in both environments. In the education space, what we've seen, we have over 50 schools and school districts now as customers, including large districts like New York and Seattle. And the system is being used in both one-on-one and enclosed classroom situations. We have some great success stories of children practicing how to go to a public setting through some of our lessons that take place in a movie theater or in a grocery store, and then being able to take those field trips successfully. We have one story that really caught my attention early on, where a child had been hit by a car when that child was young, and so was fearful of going out onto the street. Family couldn't take them to the store, couldn't do anything. They were paralyzed. And in the Florio street crossing lessons, by practicing, the child was able to overcome that fear and then start traveling with their family and getting out in the parking lot and no longer having that fear of being struck by a car.
So big. That is so big.
The Florio has a growing catalog of conversation building lessons. And so the other reports we love hearing is when a child has been using Florio for a certain amount of time, and either a healthcare professional or a teacher who hasn't seen the child in 6 months suddenly is able to have a conversation that they wouldn't have thought would have developmentally occurred based on where that child was the last time they saw them. And so some of those things are anecdotal, but what Florio does in parallel to that is that we've invested heavily in research. And so we're right now engaged on an exciting study with St. Joseph's University that's happening at a number of our school partners, where in the first phase, we were able to get teacher input on the ease of use and how powerful they felt it was in the context of being incorporated into either curriculum or that one-on-one intervention that can happen. And we have a second phase about to start that centers around explicitly trying to understand IEP goals being achieved.
Yeah, the IEP goal thing is what we've been kind of talking about behind the scenes. I've been talking with your team, and I'm going to make sure that everybody here who's listening, real soon, you're going to have access to a guide where I'm going to help you pair up why Florio and IEP goals and how to really connect that and speak to your team. And that guide will be important for teachers to bring the conversation to parents and then to the admin who can make some financial decisions on making that happen. It'll also be an important guide for parents to have, because then parents can bring it to teachers and teachers can bring it to admins, and we can have this ongoing conversation, because this is so versatile and it is something that we can put this home to school connection in, and we can connect it to those IEP goals, which are supposed to be focused on preparing a child for further education, employment, independent living. And every scenario that you just gave us today shows us how this can be connected to that. Before we wrap up, I would love for you to kind of put on your parent lens and let's just talk to the parents here, heart to heart. There's a lot of people that say, try this or do this, or parents felt like they've run around to all the different therapy offices. They've done all the Google searches. They've done all that. Let's speak to that parent who feels like one more thing, like this is one more thing. Let's give them some encouragement, and just, I would love to hear your perspective on that for them.
Absolutely. I think as a parent of a child on spectrum, we've gotten every Facebook ad for every, unresearched, questionable solution to try out. Florio is a research-backed solution. We've been funded through NIH grants to do cutting-edge research with name brand institutions like Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to show that this is a system that works, it's safe, it's effective. It's also simple enough for parents to use. It's being used through Medicaid waiver programs in New York and Wisconsin for families. It's being used in over 50 school districts. It's being used by over 80 autism therapy providers in the US. So it has adoption across a wide range. And for school districts in particular, there's a fantastic program through Meta where we're able to donate Quest 2 headsets to school districts that reach out to us as part of working with us. And so, for parents, I would say VR is something that is kids get, because these are digital kids. We are in this age where they are going to know technology better than we will. And so they get the technology very quickly. It puts them in a comfort zone. But the biggest thing is that the kids have fun in Florio. Therapy is a grind. Receiving special services in a school district, our children have to display so much endurance. They have to be so strong, and they are. This is an opportunity for you to introduce something that will serve a positive purpose, but also be fun for them. And I think ultimately that matters too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to encourage everybody. If you nodded your head and said yes during any of this, if you were like, yes, I need to try this, I need to tell somebody about this, share this out. The more people we can share this out with, the more we're going to be able to spread the knowledge and the action for parents and teachers to work together to bring new solutions like Florio to the team. So, Vijay, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, everyone.